Hi everybody, it is April and I am in my craft room annex. Today is National Quilting Day, so I thought it would be appropriate to share with you what I've been working on. I have been working on the quilt that I made with my Cricut maker, and I am quilting it. And I am quilting it on my Qzone frame, and I'm delving into pantographs. So, I have looked for Qzone frame videos on YouTube, and there aren't a lot of them, so I thought, you know, I can't be the only one who's got a Qzone frame. And I've learned a lot while doing this pantograph process, so I think I'm going to share with you what I've been up to. Alright, so here is my Qzone frame, and I'm all set up to continue my pantograph. Now I am using a Qzone 9400, and I have found that this particular foot, and let me put the foot down, sorry for any shaking, this foot and stitch 2 is what works best for me with the particular thread that I'm using and with the Grace stitch regulator. So that's the foot I'm using. If you can see the pantograph stitching that I've done here. So I've got these bars on, I've got this clamp in place to hold this taut. You know, I've got this wrapped up. So I started on the other end and I rolled up from that end, and then when I got so far that the material on these was building up, I switched it so that I could start sewing from the other end, and that's what I'm doing. So let me go over. Sorry again, I'll try not to pan too fast. So let's continue with the machine setup, and then I'll start with the pantograph. So here I need to find my quilting, and I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna do free quilting, and then I'm gonna go to straight stitch 2. And then I am upping my tension to 5. Alright, so that's how I set up my machine. My stitch regulator, I moved to the back. It was on the front, but I found that when I needed to stop, I had to walk all the way around to the front of the frame, and that was taking too long. This has definitely been an exercise in learning. So if I pan down, you can see here's my pantograph, and I'll link to where I got my pantograph. There is a software called Pantograph that you can download for free from this website, and then they've got pantographs that you can size in that Pantograph software and print them yourself. So you can print them over and over. I'm not sure, I've been trying to find other pantographs that I can print using this Pantograph, but I'm still researching that. If you all know of any, please share. So then what I did is Leah Day has a video on how to figure out exactly where you can put this pantograph on the back of your Qzone frame from Grace and have enough room to actually quilt this pantograph on your project. So here is my pantograph, and what I do is I turn on my laser, and then because I've already stitched part of this, I need to figure out where I am on the flower and adjust this pantograph to that point. So let me put the camera up on the tripod, and then I'll show you what I do. So first what I need to do is I need to figure out on the front of the frame where I am in my flower. I started at one end and I have moved to as far as I could go to this end, and then I pulled back to where I can finish this side. So because my quilt is wider than my frame, I have to move the quilt. And I'll show you once we get to the end of this row how I go back to the beginning. And so when I'm at that starting at the other end, then I'll quilt to this end, then I'll adjust everything, and then I'll start from this end and quilt to that end. So let me figure out where I am on my flower. And I have just come out of the leaf, and I'm in the first set of petals. So I've just come out of this leaf here, and I'm going to start back here. Okay, I can't move this because my needle is down. That way I keep my place. I don't lose my place. So instead of moving the machine, I will move the pantograph. So what I want to do, and the reason it's not the same, the laser is to the left of the needle. So I've got this distance between the needle and the laser that I'm going to be off, if that makes any sense. All right, so where am I? I'm about right here on this flower. So what I need to do is I use painter's tape to attach this, and this is the way that it came. Let's see. Hold on, I have to go back around. Once you get the hang of it, once you start doing this, okay. I am just coming out of the second loop. So I'm going to move this to right here. And that should put me about where I'm at. So I'm going to attach this down. I'm going to just start my machine and continue on this path. And I think that I will be able to get to the end of the quilt. Now when you get to the end of the quilt, at some point when I start going off the edge of the quilt, I am going to tack this down, because I have learned that if your foot gets caught under this edge, you can stitch your foot in. Ask me how I know. All right, so let's get going. I'm going to turn on my stitch regulator. That's one good thing about leaving your needle down. You don't have to break thread. You just start from where you were. And I've got it up to 9 stitches per whatever inch, maybe. It's not really that dense, but I like to put it as high as possible. All right, here we go. So my laser's pointing down. I've got my handles here. I want to make sure that I haven't locked anything in place, because I do have to lock something when I'm moving. And let's go. And we're not going. All right, oop, whoop. Put my needle back down. Okay. There we go. And I try to do pretty even. I'm just getting back into the groove, so. And I know that this is not a long arm, but I'm not in a position right now where I want to invest $10,000 in a machine. So this is my option for seeing if I would use a long arm and could justify the expense of a long arm. And you know, I'm a tightwad too. So that, as you can see, my laser and I'm gonna put you up here. There's no way that I was gonna be able to do that flower. So, and that's just, this is a drawback of this small frame, not gonna lie, but it's something that I can live with. So my needle is down, and what I wanna do is I don't want this carriage to move because I want to drag my material backwards so that I can finish. So I've got this little lever here, and I am going to press it. And my laser is still in approximately the same spot. Okay, so let's see how I did on my stitches. Here they are. They are not quite as dense as what I would normally like, but you know what? I think I can get used to it. So if you look, let's see, you can see it doesn't look bad. And once you wash it, I never like my stitches, whether they were done by a long arm. Actually, the long arm, I like the stitches, but all right. So I'm gonna put you back on the tripod and show you what I do. So first of all, I unhook everything. And this is not going to be on there. Actually, yes it is, because I'm pulling the other way. Never mind. All right, that will be on there. So I'm gonna unhook my little braces. These, I find that it's best to unhook from the middle. If you unhook them from this side, sometimes you will accidentally adjust this. This has an up and down. This part goes up and down based on what your machine needs and how high up you want it. We have adjusted this. My husband put some higher legs on here because this machine isn't made for what I am using it for. So I couldn't really see my needle. I was having to bend over, which is not good on my back. So we just put some legs, extra height under the frame, and now I can see my needle just fine. Which, when I'm doing a pantograph, doesn't matter because I'm in the back of the machine and can't see my needle anyway. All right. I don't have to move it far because I only have a little bit to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this. My machine moves, my material moves. I'm trying to keep everything in place, and then I just need to put these back on. Now what I do is I feel back behind this bar and I can feel where the two hooks are. So you just roll your material up and you bring the little hook around. And as you get further along, this material gets bigger. The bunch gets bigger, so the amount of space that you have here to actually stitch gets smaller. So that's why I start at one end, and really I could probably stop in the middle, flip it. I flipped my pantograph, and then I started again. Now, I don't think that I will, hold on, I'm looking for my, there we go. I don't think that the end will have a full flower on it, which the beginning doesn't have a full flower on it either because, you know, I was just starting and I didn't judge my pantograph very well. All right. I also have a little garbage can right there. I'm gonna check under here, make sure that my material looks smooth. I'm gonna hook this back up so that gives it some tension, and then I need to put my long bars on. And this might seem tedious. It might be a little tedious, but I got this whole setup on Facebook Marketplace very reasonably, so the amount of money that I saved makes the tedium worth it right now. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to figure out, would I be able to justify the investment of a long arm, or is this what I need? Am I going to lose interest in 2 years, and if I spend $10,000, I'm not going to get my $10,000 out of it? So that's the way it is. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back around to the back of the machine. Everything is set up. It's nice and snug. So let's go back to the back. Now here is where I need to adjust this to where I was before, and hopefully I will be able to do that without having to move the paper. Okay, so I am about here. Let's see, and I am not going to be able to do that. So what I'm going to have to do, because my laser isn't going to let me put it here. And make sure you tighten this knob if you get this laser. It was loose, and if it gets hit, then you may not know where you really are in the flower. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. And I didn't stagger my flowers. I probably should have. Next time, I'll know. All right, so I'm going to put that. So that is approximately where I was. So my needle's down, everything's attached and snug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go until I go off of my material. And at that point, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to secure the edge of my material, because otherwise I might have a mess. So let's see, I don't think you can really see where I am on the pantograph. Well, let's go ahead. We'll do this. We'll do the pantograph and then I'll show you. Okay, so at this point, I am off my material. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want my foot to get caught, and with this foot, I may not have that issue, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and break thread. All right, and then I'm going to come up here, because I'm going to have to secure that anyway. Put my needle down. I'm not going to worry about pulling my thread up because I am on the edge of the quilt. So there's no need for me to worry about bringing the thread to the top. Now, where I've placed my stitch regulator, I can reach behind my machine. Normally it would sit right here, or right here, sorry. But again, I couldn't turn it off in time. And then I'm gonna stitch down this edge. Okay, and then I'm going to go right back to where I was in my pantograph. So now, because that's all stitched down, I can just continue what I was doing and finish this last flower. And I need to make sure I'm coming down. Okay. So here you can see part of my flower has gone off the edge of the quilt, but that's okay. I mean, I'm doing edge-to-edge quilting with this pantograph. And my row is done. Okay, you have to come over here.
This is my glasses. They fit me. They don't make me fit.
Cool.